Welcome to the podcast. May contain swearing and or graphic material. You have been warned. Don't come after me.
From day one, you fought for your life, and you blew everyone away.
Hi, welcome back. Episode 3. If you're still hanging around, woohoo! Lucky us. We haven't scared you off yet. Anyways, I'm Alisha.
I'm Jesse.
And we are Changing the Chances. You know, our journey as special needs parents, becoming special needs parents, all that fun stuff. It's really just our life experiences. And you might have heard our child in the background laughing. You know, it's about her. It's fine. It's good. She's a part of this. She should be. Okay. As in true fashion for us, we did not plan anything out.
No notes, no nothing. Just wing it.
We're just going to wing it. So sometimes things are a little backwards. Just, it's who we are. Sorry. Sorry if that bugs you. Anyways, so we think we were going to move on to, I don't even know. I guess we can talk about, I debated about bringing this up, but we'll just bring it up anyways because I think it's a big conversation people have when they're going to have kids anyways, before you even know you're going to have a special needs kid. This is purely just about having a baby. Number one conversation me and Jesse had is he wanted me to breastfeed, and I told him no.
True story.
I do feel like this happens a lot. I feel like men are very like, you should do this. You should definitely do this. And I only say that, not because Jesse felt that way, but I can't tell you how many times I heard it in the hospital from other men to their wives.
I didn't push it.
Well, no, but I also was very firm. Like, not happening, so not a discussion. When you hook a child to your body every 2 hours, we can talk about it. Until that point, we're not gonna. And guess what? You know what? If that's something you do, congratulations. I think that's fantastic. It's just something I decided I didn't want to do.
Well, you did try pumping.
Well, and that leads me to my whole thing is, again, I was very against it. Was like, never going to happen. Don't think so. Twins came, whatever. Don't even think twice about it. I'm not even making milk. I'm way too early for that.
Yeah, your body wasn't doing anything.
But
tried to like force it.
And
hey, yo, titties, make some of that milk.
So in true doctor fashion, somebody made a compelling argument I was not thrilled about, but he did anyways, and said, guess what? When your babies decide to eat, it's probably the best thing for them, considering they are already have everything against them. They are fighting against everything else in this world right now. That'll be the best thing. I'm like, well, I hate you.
It'll be the easiest for their little incomplete bodies to digest because mother's milk already is filtered and has all the natural nutrients and everything in it, and they just said that it was best for them. I didn't even have to argue it. The doctor did. So I was like, cool.
So I was like, fine. You know, I'm all on board for doing what's best. I'm not happy about it. Okay. Nope. Not even a little bit. No excitement from me. And trust me, it was terrible because the first 5 times you don't even get anything because guess what? Your body is not ready to do that. It was terrible. I only did that for about a month, by the way, and I wanted to cry.
You were a soldier. By the way, like any of you dads, if your wife does choose to breastfeed, just be as kind as you can because it's very unpleasant. Very unpleasant. Like I don't know firsthand, but Alisha tried, and it was very hard on her, and she used to tell me like don't even look at them, don't think about them. They hurt so bad from just constantly trying and getting the bare minimum, like just
nothing, like just nothing.
CCs, like 2 and 3 CCs, which at the time it was just Piper, and she really wasn't.
Well, and she wasn't taking anything yet.
Yeah, she wasn't taking anything yet.
And I literally only bring this up also because as we get a little further into our story, and Piper is sitting in the hospital, just fighting for everything at this point. And we had this doctor, if you remember, in our last episode, if you listened, Doom and Gloom. She just didn't feel like she was trying to save her.
Doom and gloom.
I just feel like she gave up on her.
I think she gave up on her pretty much instantly. It was just like 24-week gestation and just pretty much just wrote her off. I could have put her through a window and been okay with it. Wouldn't have felt bad.
So, doctors rotate. New doctors come in, new perspectives, which for us worked out great. I say great in a very loose fashion because nothing that's happening currently is great. But, so, Piper is stable, unchanging, and we get a new doctor, and he's in rounds. We're talking with him, and he's like, what are we doing to change things? Obviously, she's not changing. Nothing's happening. And we're like, well, nothing. She wasn't doing anything. We literally are just sitting around watching. And he decided, he's like, well, I don't really like that plan. I think it's a terrible plan.
And so I was already also not on board with the whole sitting on the sidelines, pretty much just watching her deteriorate.
So doctors change. They rounds.
Rotate. Yep. They rotate.
New doctor came in, didn't like the fact that we were just sitting around waiting. So he's like, you know what? I think that we need to try and get some food in her belly, which was very scary because I guess given the medication she was on for blood pressure or something like that, there was an interaction and they like to wait, but we really couldn't wait because we've already been waiting, like 24 days-ish, give or take.
Something, yeah. I'm like, we're probably almost a month in. And
so he's like, okay. So he's like, we're going to put some food in her belly. Yes, it's scary, but at this point, what do we got to lose? Because nothing's happening anyways.
He's like, we're either just going to sit here and watch her wither away and die, or we can try and get some food in her, see what her body does, and hopefully it reacts well, and nutrients is going to help her absorb the medications that she needs, and she's going to grow so that her tiny little veins she doesn't end up having
all
the
over,
same,
basically.
Like all around it
just
was a
needs
better
to grow.
Yeah, she needed to grow, and in order to do that, she needed nutrients. And
so it came in handy that I pumped. I had some stuff to offer, which was obviously the best thing for them. So, because they were literally giving her like almost 1 cc an hour, like it was incredibly small.
Just to let her body try, because technically her insides weren't ready to take it that way or something. I don't remember how it was. It was but they were worried that like if we just started pumping her full of food that her body would reject it basically, and have a bad reaction, and being as fragile as she was at that point, it wasn't a good idea. So they wanted to go as slow as they could while still doing something. Yeah.
So they started a feed and we just watched and waited. Turns out it was, like I said, one of the best things they ever did. And best being a very loose term because nothing great was happening. Nothing was the best, but it, sent us in a direction that we needed to go in because so it's literally the same day where we got the news about the heart valve that needed to closed and that this was happening. It was all happening at the same time. So we got the good news, and as in true fashion, we got good news followed by bad news rather quickly. Yay for us, we're getting really good at this. That's a lie, we're not.
Oh no. I think we were still adjusting to the fact that we are now on a roller coaster.
Right.
And
we don't know where it's going. It is a roller coaster in the dark, by the way.
I'm like, it's a dark roller coaster. You don't see a track, anything, and
you don't know what's going to happen next. You just know something's coming.
Your asshole
it could
is
be good,
literally
it could
in
be
your
bad.
throat all the time.
So
didn't you have a hair
so it's, of course, I had a hair appointment that I had set up months ago because I wasn't supposed to have babies here yet. I just thought I was getting a haircut. We went to the hospital because they needed to talk to us, and they let us know something's going on. We're a little worried that her abdomen is filling with air. That's what they told us. And they're like, we need to get an x-ray, see what's going on. But if it is, that means she probably has a perforated bowel, which means her bowel has split open, basically. And we'll need to rush her to the children's hospital so they can do surgery, because we don't do surgery at this hospital because
we don't have the specialist surgeons here.
Yeah,
they're
you have
up
to
at
go
the
to
children's hospital.
Yeah, the children's hospital who does that kind of stuff.
They work on the kids.
So Jesse brought me home, which again
and I had told her, I'm like, you know what, you go, I will stay at the hospital. If anything happens, I'll get a hold of you, but I'll be there. One of us will be there. Like,
yeah,
I could tell, like, maybe a little break, a little something for you wouldn't hurt, like, and in true fashion. Shit goes sideways almost
so
immediately.
He drops me off at home. The lady is coming here to cut my hair. She's a friend of my sister-in-law and brother. He goes back to the hospital and I get a call like, yep, she's got a perforated bowel. They're coming to get her. They're sending her to the children's hospital. Okay, awesome. I'm literally in the middle of a haircut. I'm waiting for Jesse to get home because they're packing all of Piper's stuff up and giving it to him in a trash bag because it needs to not be there and it needs to go somewhere else. So that was interesting.
Sucked, by the way, being the only one there with everybody asking you questions and, yep, that roller coaster ride in the dark.
Yep.
Imagine being on that roller coaster in the dark and then people punching you really hard in the face, like sucker punches.
Wow. Okay.
Like legit. Like
okay. I've just never heard it put that way, but it's fair. It's totally fair.
It sucked.
I don't know how my mom found out, but she was meeting you at the hospital and you were walking out to the car as she was pulling in. And you're like, she's already gone. She's gone up to the other hospital. And she was like, I'm going to follow you up there.
Yeah.
So he came home, got me. We finished up my haircut that I was in the middle of. And we were driving up to this children's hospital.
That is on the other side of the valley.
Yeah, it's like 30-minute drive, roughly.
Yeah, it's about a 30-minute drive.
So we're driving up there. I get a phone call. It's from a doctor saying, hey, can we like get your permission to start surgery? And I'm like, we're almost there. Like, I don't want you to take her back somewhere where I can't see her.
Yeah.
Before we get there, which sounds so stupid. You're like, just do the surgery, whatever you got to do. But
with everything that we had already experienced, surgery was a really big thing for her.
Terrifying and sudden.
Yeah, super, super terrifying, super sudden. But I literally watched her blow up like a balloon.
She did.
Like her abdomen cavity. Oh gosh, man, I can't remember the numbers, but I'd say
important.
No, but I'd say she probably tripled. Her abdomen cavity probably tripled, maybe even quadrupled in size. Like just
big. When you can go from seeing every vein and bone to nothing because
she was just
so full of air.
Yeah,
it's terrible. So we got to the hospital. My mom was with us. They pulled us into the room she was in, and at the children's hospital, they have 4 and 5 babies in a room, a big room. That's how it's laid out.
Yeah.
In the NICU. Anyways, that's how it's laid out. The nurse that got her, super sweet lady, and she was
Godsend.
Like holding our hands and telling us to, talk to her and
that she could hear us and that she could feel us and she knew that we were there.
So we gave the doctors permission to do surgery. They take us out of the room. She's in such a fragile state. They don't even move her to an OR. They set up a makeshift OR around her to do the surgery right there because they didn't want to move her and they wanted to get it done.
She was already in such bad shape. Like they just wanted to get emergency care to her as quick as possible.
Yeah.
She was not doing good. Her stats were dropping. She was
of course
having a hard time breathing. She was her heart rate was dropping. Like it was doing a number on her, more so because she was already so fragile.
So they put us in a room. They put us in a room across the hall, and we're sitting there with my mom just waiting because what else do you do?
No, you were waiting and crying.
Well, of course. That's what I do.
I was wrecked. I was already in a dark, dark place. And this was almost the verge of me losing it completely. Like I didn't know like what real pain was, and I didn't know that you could feel. Ugh, that word.
Yes, feelings.
Yeah.
People have feelings. Welcome to the world of feelings.
But, I grew up in a house where it was, my stepdad was, you don't have feelings. You be a man. Shut up.
That's a lot of homes.
So to have all of these emotions and feelings and just, in my eyes, tragedy, just one after another. I mean, we were counting her ounces, like,
Grams.
Yeah, not
We
even
were counting
ounces, grams. We were
grams.
counting grams. That's right.
As far as weight goes.
Yeah.
Today she's 620. Today she's 630.
And then when
Today
she would
she's
drop,
6'10",
when she dropped 20 grams, it's like overnight. What happened? Like, what is going on?
So, anyways, back to surgery. As we're pacing around this hospital, we were there forever. It feels like I can't even. Just feels like we were there forever. It was daylight when we left, and it was dark when we came home.
Gosh, it's.
So we waited. They finished. We got to go in, be with her.
She was so swollen.
So swollen, just like almost a completely different baby, because when you triple in size, it's amazing. You look completely different.
She kind of reminded me of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like she was
So
just
puffy.
so puffy.
Yeah.
And her color too. Like she didn't, like, her poor abdomen was just so red and irritated.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they sliced her open, kind of like a C-section, a little bit higher, just from one side to the other to get in there. They took out
pretty much one rib cage to the other.
I
One side
cannot
of the
remember the
ribcage.
number. The number is not important
43 centimeters.
because at the moment I don't really know how much was in there, other than they said it was so much. Basically,
If they had removed any more,
she probably wouldn't have lived.
because she wouldn't have had enough to absorb nutrients and to do what
So-
it needed.
What happened was her bowel was actually dying inside of her.
They call it neck or neck. What is neck? Necrotitis. Well,
I'm like, you wanted to talk about it. You don't have no idea. I just know neck. You're right. I don't know.
It's because it was rotting inside of her. It had the ruptured part that had split open that was seeping the air.
No. Well.
That part had ruptured and it was rotting.
Yeah.
While it was filling the air, it was also rotting inside of her. That's why she was getting a fever. She was having erratic heartbeats.
Yes, but I think it was rotting before that. And that's why feeding her was important and what saved her life. Because feeding her is what caused it to rupture and how we figured out that it was bad.
Well, and that's because then they also started x-raying her abdomen so that they could keep an eye on what was going on while they were feeding her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they found it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it had split. She was filling with air.
And
It was
the new
compressing
doctor,
all of her organs.
yeah, which we saw the x-ray and it was, gosh, all her poor little organs were just knotted up in a little ball in the center of her abdomen with this big, giant, open, empty black space that was just air.
Yep.
A balloon pushing all of her little organs together in a ball.
Yep. So.
But that doctor that came in when they did rotations through hospitals, his idea to start feeding her and just seeing what would happen.
Yeah. I think it saved her.
I 100%.
choose to believe that.
Yep. Well, I even told the man the next time I had seen him.
I remember.
I shook his hand and I'm like, you saved my daughter's life. Like, just your idea, your different perspective, your different train of thought saved her life instead of sitting there just watching her wither away and die. Like, you were a little more on our side. Like, well, if it's gonna go south, let's at least, she's fighting, let's give her an option.
Yeah.
Let's give her some ammo. You know what I mean? Like something that's gonna help her along the way. And I was just so humbled by this man. Like, and he just, well, it's my job. Like, and totally different than the other Dr. Doom and Gloom. She was just horrible.
Well, and that's why they rotate. Because everybody has a different view. Everybody has a different opinion. And the best way to help somebody is to get everybody's views and opinions and figure out what works best. Is what I think anyways.
Well, they all compare notes and,
of course.
and things like that. But, you know, they've all been on different cases, and you know, they're different perspectives, and people are different, so they view the world differently, and that's, I mean, so true in so many aspects in life in general. So
agreed.
It was really cool to find out that they were doing rotations, and that we were getting a new doctor, and when he jumped at the opportunity, like, hey, let's take a chance, let's try this, let's do that, and it's like, well, we are the chances, so let's do it. Like, it's I'd rather throw her some kind of lifeline than just sit here on the sidelines and watch her wither away. Like that was killing me the most.
And that tends to be a dad thing. Dads are fixers.
Well,
they want to fix all the problems.
We're guardians. We want to either fix what, you know, happened to our kids or protect them from everything. And I could do neither.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. You're just stuck in that spot. You have to just stand by, put your opinion in, and see what happens. So she got through surgery.
She had to get life flighted.
She just took an ambulance.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
She's only been in the helicopter once.
Yeah, that's so she took an ambulance. She got the surgery. We got to see her. She was all obviously cut open. They took out half. It was
almost half.
It was almost half.
Almost half of her small intestine.
Of her small intestine. And there's these fancy words that I can't think of off the top of my head. But basically, so they bring each side of your intestine out of your belly.
Oh,
and
the
they sew it.
Stoma? Or no.
There's a stoma and an ileostomy.
Something like that. I can't remember.
Don't come at me, people. Please don't come at me.
Yeah, right. Technical terms, we don't have degrees. I'm lucky I graduated high school.
I mean, I knew what it was at the time, but I don't remember now. But basically, they pull the pieces of your intestine out because they need to make sure that they stay healthy and that they're good.
Because you don't want to put something septic back inside your body.
Yep. So
she had those. Gosh, she had that for a little while.
Yeah. I will definitely try to be more prepared in the future as we go along. And
this is usually my deal. We do, winging it. Alicia's usually really good with all our notes.
The problem is we actually have a journal that my mom gave us that we kept with Piper at the hospital, that we could write whatever we wanted in it, whatever was happening, whatever we were feeling, all the things. And she's like, because one day you'll forget. You'll remember it right now because it's happening right now. But
one day you'll want to see it and you'll want to read it. Yep. You'll want to know.
And that's going to be terrible. I don't look forward to reading it because I know there's going to be sad stuff in it.
Horrible things.
But I also think there's going to be a lot of information in it that I can't remember.
Oh, 100%. Because your mom was writing in it. My mom was writing in it. You were writing in it. I was writing in it.
We even had some nurses write in it.
Yeah. Just updates on her and how she was that day. And, things like that.
Super exciting. Great idea. Great idea for anybody who knows somebody with a child in the hospital, a baby in the hospital, and it's going to be a long stay.
Get them a journal
is an amazing idea because
it's a great gift.
It's a good way to get emotions out. It's a good way to remember all the things. It's fantastic.
It really is.
So just a side note.
And even for dads, because I'm emotionally wrecked. I'll be the first one to tell you. Like, I got my childhood trauma and all that stuff. And I know a lot of dads are probably in the same boat. They've probably come from not so great childhood backgrounds, with their dads not being the greatest of dads. And dads, take advantage of anything you can to have a healthy outlet because you're going to need it. We're viewed and looked at as supposed to be the rocks, and we're not supposed to be emotional, and we're not supposed to be the ones that break down, and we're just supposed to keep chucking all these burdens on your shoulders and keep going. And I did. I tried.
I think that's important to point out too, is sometimes fairly often dads get forgotten. And I don't mean like forgotten, but people are so concerned, one, with the child.
Yeah, baby.
If it's a child.
And one thing for sure, it's baby comes first or kid comes first, 100%.
But usually mom is really close second. And I think I honestly think it's a society standard that men should just handle it and be I won't say be fine with it. That's not the correct
But
wording.
that's kind of how it's supposed to be, though. Like, you're supposed to just, chin up,
Yeah.
suck it up, deal with it. We get put on the back burners. Nobody thinks about our emotions, how we're feeling, how we're dealing, how we're coping.
Yeah.
And because everyone is so focused on child and mom.
Yeah.
And at the time, that's fine. I didn't care. I thought that was my role. Like, I blamed myself. Like, how was I not prepared? Like, I thought I was going to be prepared for everything because that was my job. I was going to take care of you and the twins and give you guys everything. And how was I not prepared for a curveball like that?
Because this isn't a curveball people are prepared for.
Yeah, but it still made me feel like shit.
This is not something you go into it as. Like I said, you get pregnant and everybody makes all the plans because you have all the excitement of all the things, and then it goes wrong and you're trying to figure out why. You can't prepare for that. There's no way, especially because, and let's just say our situation, we didn't know what was going to happen in 5 minutes, let alone predict what was going to happen in 24 hours or in a month. Like, that wasn't realistic at all.
I started telling people, do not call me, because anything from the hospital, they would call. So I started telling everybody, you text me, because every time my phone would ring, my heart would stop.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
Because, and I did. I got to the point where it was like, anytime my phone went off, I thought it was the hospital.
Which is totally understandable, but nobody wants to live with that every day.
Oh, no, because it sucked.
Yeah.
Because, obviously you got like your scammers and all that stuff and whatnot, but, when your own family's just trying to get a hold of you just to see what's going on and stuff, and your phone goes off, you're not at home, because I'd have to go to work and stuff, and it was just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Somebody's calling me.
This isn't good.
No,
Something's happening.
Yeah, something bad's happening.
Yeah.
But seriously, dads, just take advantage of anything healthy you can do. Go axe throwing to a break room, break some stuff if you need to. Go to the gym.
Yes, a break room is like a real place you break things. Just FYI, in case people don't know that.
Oh, yeah.
You literally pay to break objects. That's what it is.
Or, go to the gym, work out, hit a heavy bag, something.
Just anybody. You need to find a healthy outlet.
Even moms, because I know a lot of moms too that I've seen on like forums and stuff that they just feel the way that they describe it is almost like trapped, because a lot of us special needs parents, it feels like nobody gets us, especially moms. Like I know even you, like, you're hard on yourself, and it's hard for all of us, everybody involved, everybody that has been touched by your child in their lives one way or another. It's hard for them in their own aspect. And I feel like special needs moms probably beat themselves up more so than typical children moms.
I wouldn't say that.
No?
No, I think it's just different. I just think it's different.
I guess that makes sense, because our normal
is just
is
different.
Their chaos, and their normal would probably be chaotic to me, like trying to chase down a 5-year-old that.
Well, and that's the thing, and we always talk about, like, now, is when people look at you and they're like, well, I just don't know how you do it. Well, guess what? I don't know how you do it.
You've got 6 kids.
Like,
what is wrong with you? Get off her, dude. Jesus.
Basically, is just different. I don't know any different.
Our child doesn't know any different.
I was only pregnant once. This is our first go around, and this is what we were given.
First chance, last chance, only chance.
So for me, it's just normal. It is my normal, and I know how to live it to the best of my ability. And for somebody else who has 3 healthy, typical children, like, that's just their normal. But that doesn't mean they don't. That doesn't mean they don't beat themselves up over their own things.
The parents,
they're just different.
The parents that I think are like just out of this world are the parents with multiple children that have multiple children with special needs. I'm just like, wow, that it's and it's some some special needs are genetics. Others are, like in Piper's case, out of everyone's control. You know, like her CP.
Yeah, there was
coming
nothing
early.
we could have.
There was nothing anybody could have done. I mean, we were just lucky that she made it, to be honest.
I mean, and clearly, in our case, we understand that we were
very lucky.
Very lucky.
You know, and some parents, they decide to have multiple kids, and some people draw multiple kids, you know, in having special needs, and kudos, because I feel like I don't know what we would do with another child, whether it be
a typical
child or not, or
needs.
you know, abled or disabled child. Like I've never understood how people can have more than, you know, 2 or 3 kids, but I also come from a family with 2 siblings, you know, like I've always thought 3 kids were a fair amount.
Well, and that was my family. You know, it's me and I have 2 brothers. So 3 was, I don't imagine anything bigger. I actually, when we had Piper or decided to have Piper, you know, I was like, never like, we need to have 10 kids. That's not me. I've never felt that way.
Oh, I never needed a football team either.
Agreed. But I always hoped that my brothers would have multiple children. Purely because I was like, I want her to have lots of cousins. I don't need to have babies for her to have lots of siblings, but I grew up with a lot of cousins. I have a good size extended family.
Yeah, your extended family's pretty.
And I was close to a lot of my cousins, still am. Aunts, uncles,
They're
cousins.
probably the only ones listening to our podcast.
Hey, all 10 of you out there, thank you for supporting me and listening to me ramble. Anyways, so I always hoped my brothers would have multiple children so that she would have lots of cousins. As it turns out to this day that she doesn't. She has 2. That is also fine. They are fantastic.
Because let's see, you've got your 2 brothers, and then now with all of my siblings, because my family has grown since my mom got with Papa Joe.
Yes, Papa Joe.
So I went from having my brother and my sister to now having
3 more brothers?
3 more brothers. Yeah, so a total of 4 brothers and a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's going to be many more kids coming out of either side of
It's
the family.
early. It's early.
It's early, but
we'll see. I'm not going to count them out. I'm not ready to do that.
Oh, I guess I'm just more of a realist.
Well, we do know that...
I do know one of my brothers wants to have kids.
And you do know one of them doesn't.
And I do know one is absolutely steadfast, does not.
Sounds familiar. Which is fine. I do not hold that against anybody. I firmly believe that children are your choice. And make it. Live in it. You want them? Have them. You don't? Don't. Perfect, wonderful, amazing. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Sorry, I had to say that because my younger brother is, you know, sitting here listening and he's producing and he doesn't want kids. I'm totally cool with that because you know what? He found an amazing person to marry, so I'm great. At least he found somebody good to marry because...
That's on the same page because that can be an issue a lot of times for a lot of couples, like one wanting, the other not.
So you know what? They got a dog and they're happy. I think it's great.
I wouldn't trade Piper for anything in the world, but...
Oh no, I am so over, like, just living things that need my attention. I'm over it. I wouldn't trade Piper or anything for the world, but in case you haven't figured out, she's 7. And we are, you know, going back to the beginning and trying to fill in the backstory as long as talking about kind of what's going on now, because that's just natural. She needs somebody all the time. And we'll get into that as we go, all the things that go with it. But she literally does. She's not your typical 7-year-old who runs around and can play by herself. That's not how this works. You know, and we had cats before we had children. They're pretty low maintenance cats. That's why I like them. Unfortunately, one of our cats passed, and they were brother and sister. And now the boy cat we still have left is very needy because he doesn't know what to do with himself because he doesn't have a sister to hang out with. Then we decided to get a dog, We did rescue her. I couldn't have asked for a better dog. And we rescued her, which makes me excited. But that is another living thing in this house that needs attention.
Everybody wants your attention. Nobody wants mine.
It is a lot coming from somebody who is not built for this.
What? Giving attention?
Yeah, we know me. I like self-sufficient. I'm like, handle it, yo. I don't want to do it for you. Like, come on. You know this is true.
Oh, I know. 100%.
Very true. I am not that person. I am not motherly. I don't want to mother you. I don't want to do things for you.
You do not have a mother hen or mother bear. Like,
I'm like, listen, are you an adult? Then handle it. I can't do it for you.
But did you die?
But did you die? No. Like, I cannot. And again, I would never trade her for the world. She is my favorite human being. She is my favorite everything.
Yeah. but maybe if you had tried just a little bit harder to talk me out of it, we might have just ended up with a dog.
Well, that's also not true. I just didn't. Did we talk about this? We didn't. So me and Jesse got together and we were getting serious. We had a conversation because, as things go, you don't really want to waste your time with somebody who in the grand scheme of things is like, that is not in my life plan. Never going to happen. So we talked about children and I was like, nope, not a thing.
We were already engaged at this point. Or no?
I don't think so.
No,
this was still like pretty early in our relationship.
Like we hadn't gotten engaged
this
yet.
Is very.
I didn't want to get engaged if.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't mind the idea of kids, but I want to adopt. I don't want to physically have kids. I know that it is a miracle and everyone's like, it's wonderful. But to me, all I can picture is alien popping out of my chest. It sounded disgusting and terrible. I didn't want to experience it. It didn't appeal to me at all. Everyone else can experience the miracle of life. I am happy to adopt somebody else's miracle and care for that person.
And me.
And you're adopted.
I'm adopted. Yeah.
So
I'm adopted, and I was cool with that idea, but I wanted to know what we would make, what I would make. You know what I mean? Like it's, and any guy, most guys, except for the ones that don't want kids, because they don't want kids, they don't get it. So, but I wanted to know what I would eventually be able to see, you want
you to know what your genetics make.
Yeah, our genetics.
Yeah.
So
we came to a compromise that I would physically have a child. That it was only one. I would physically have a child, but in return, when the time came, he would have to get fixed because he was super like, who would do that? I'm not doing that. It sounds awful. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing it. It's like a major surgery for a woman. That's what? No. And if I push out a child, I don't think so, buddy.
So, and our marriage has been built on compromise and communication. So,
oh yeah,
we compromised, and that was the deal. Okay. She would be pregnant once, and I would get fixed. So
marriage, compromise, all the things. Sorry, we got distracted by our dog. See, our loving dog who needed attention. And now I don't know where we are.
And then we had a mic fiasco.
We did have
I dropped a beer in a mic.
Dun, dun, dun. The mic was not hurt. We lost some beer, but it's fine.
And nobody was hurt. Unfortunately, we did lose a little bit of a soldier. So
Child thought it was hilarious, though.
She did. She thought it was so
She does
funny.
love some wreckage.
She loves chaos. Like,
it's true.
Since day one, I swear.
I mean, she's lived in it for a long time.
She was born. You think the world is chaos? I was born from it, molded by it. You simply live in it. You conform to it.
Wow.
I am chaos.
She is not, though.
No, she's a bundle of joy.
Yeah, she really is. I tell people every day we lucked out because she is like the
she's
best
a great
little
kid.
human being ever.
She's great.
So.
But yeah, circling back around, great doctor. We got a new great doctor. Came in through rotations, helped.
We're back to that?
I thought we were.
Well, no, we talked about surgery already. Lost half of her intestine.
Yeah.
She had ileostomy and a stoma.
She had already had 2 laser surgeries?
No.
Or
not
no,
yet.
not
Hasn't even
yet.
happened yet.
No, that hadn't happened yet. I mean, because Piper's had a total of like...
Before she left the hospital, she was there for 6 months. She had 7 surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about them. I will look them up in my book. See, this is where we all went sideways. I talked about the book and the memories and the dads and the marriage. And see how this happens? It just snowballs. This is actually how my brain works. I jump from one thought to another, to another, to another. And you don't even know how I got to the end.
But you do.
Unless you followed the train of thought. Which
train wreck. Because my mind works the same way.
I say mine is a train wreck. It just doesn't make sense unless you can see it.
Yeah, well, nobody can see it.
You're right, but they could hear it. They heard our thoughts jumping around from thought to thought to thought. In my head, it all made sense when it happened. Fair?
It's like when I want to do things and they sound better in my head, and then when I say it out loud, I'm like, wow, I probably shouldn't have said that.
That's funny.
It usually causes an awkward moment.
We're used to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I am.
Are you?
As used to it as I'm gonna be. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. So if we circle back around to Piper. So she looked like a balloon for like 3 days.
She did, yeah. She was puffy, swollen.
My goal is every time we release a podcast, I will release some pictures of what was going on in our lives so you guys can have a visual, if you so choose, of what it was like also. Because it's really hard to picture what we're talking about if you've never seen it firsthand.
So when Piper was born at 24 weeks, her and Caleb were with doctors called micro preemies. So you have premature kids, and then you have micro preemies. And micro preemies most of them do not make it, just because it is just so difficult and hard on them. But imagine, if you will, a dollar bill, the size of a dollar bill. That's about how big she was. And, within a month, she hadn't gotten much bigger. And then when she had that surgery, I mean, she did. It was like she tripled in size.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And it almost looked like her poor little skin was going to just pop.
It couldn't contain.
It couldn't contain because she was just so swollen. And then... Gosh, what happened next?
Well, it's just crazy because I had a flashback memory of something I forgot because, ta-da, it's what
repressed
I do.
Memories.
It's not
great.
It's not repressed. I just forgot to mention it in all the other talking of all the other things. Again, when you have 5 million things going on at once, you tend to forget things. And because I don't write them down. Hey, yay me.
We did have a lot going on.
So we're talking about the size of her. And I forgot to share a really good memory of when she was in the first hospital. Then I had my first Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which doesn't sound like a great memory, except for the fact that it was my first Mother's Day. Clearly, I was going to go see her. And she, as I had mentioned, her eyes were still closed. They were still fused shut when she was born. She was still early. So on Mother's Day, she opened her eyes for the first time. And I got to hold her, which is a huge deal because she's hooked up to 9 machines and she's on a ventilator and she's a tiny little body.
With a million wires coming off of her.
No, seriously. It was an ordeal to do this. And they don't normally let you. But because it was Mother's Day, they made an exception.
Well, they also thought that it might even help her.
Yeah, so we did skin to skin. And I do have a beautiful picture of that. So
I think you've even got it. When I did the skin to skin, you've got pictures.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. So, but it just brings you back to how small they were. Because if I post this picture of this tiny little human, she just fit in the palm of my hand. It was the hardest thing I had to do because you're so fragile.
Afraid. Yeah.
And she's literally 1 pound.
So when the twins were born, there were 1, 2, and I believe it was
1, 4.
1, 2, and 1, 4.
Mm-hmm.
And
so they weighed nothing.
Yeah, just that's why we were going off of grams for weight.
Yep.
So yeah, it to just put in perspective, my wedding band, and most guys have bigger hands. My wedding band could go all the way up her thigh.
My wedding band
all the
probably
way
could've.
up her shoulder, up, like, I mean, just so tiny, and her little fingers, her hand couldn't even cover my entire thumb. Her whole hand,
Mm-hmm.
like, it was just, it blew me away and just humbled me is the best word, because to see this tiny little angel that
There's
could,
no other way to describe it.
yeah, like no other way to describe it, that was fighting so hard, like legitly just fighting so hard to be in this world. And she's a fighter, 100%.
100%. So to go from tiny to a balloon was crazy. And then once the swelling went down and she went back to being tiny, that was when things got, like, for me, got really scary, because she looked really bad. To see her all, like, puffed up and then back
Then
to
she,
a
like,
bag of bones.
Shriveled up, like,
Yeah, it was completely crazy and terrifying.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the terror set in more the longer it went. Because, in the beginning, like I said, I'm very good at not focusing on things and directing my attention somewhere else to deal with them. Which means I'm not dealing with them. But anyways, that's where I'm at in life. It's working so far.
We can't afford therapy. Like, this is our therapy, so I hope this works for you.
You know what? All we can do is give it a go.
Whatever.
I think what helps too is I feel like I'm not burdening somebody else with my thoughts and my feelings, because they're making a choice to listen. And if they don't listen, I won't even know the difference.
Yeah.
Right?
There it is.
I mean, is that a fair assessment? Because I'm not actually asking for anybody to help me or to help fix me or to help me. I just need to say all the things, and it doesn't always make sense. And sometimes I forget things and I go backwards, but it just needs to be put out in the world and to be said aloud so that I know that it happened and it was real. And
I think people in general just need to do that and just vent. Just vent. Like, get it out. Put it out there. That way you said it. You've gotten it off your chest as a person. Like,
no, agreed.
It's not good to keep all these emotions and stress and all that stuff, because I'm a stress ball, people.
Oh my goodness. He is such a stress ball. Says we're wearing opposites. Work again. He is a stress ball. I am not.
I
am very mellow.
Everything.
I'm pretty calm. I don't.
Which, I mean, I'm working on. I've gotten a little better. But, yeah, I do. I stress about everything.
Yeah. I think the best thing about this, too, is, especially situations like this, is if you're trying to tell somebody how you're feeling, again, just venting. You're not looking for anything. I'm just looking for a place to say my thoughts to.
Like, you can just stand there, smile, and nod.
But people can't.
No, people can't, because people are opinionated.
Either they're sad because of the situation, or they feel like they need to offer help and support.
And they don't know how.
Or, it's awkward.
It is.
And it doesn't make me feel better, because then I'm like, never mind. I'm sorry I burdened you with my thoughts.
Because it does. And that's part of, being a special needs parent. Like, you're going to get to a point where people aren't going to ask how things are going anymore. The sympathy's going to be gone because they don't understand. It doesn't touch their lives. It doesn't affect them. People are going to probably get annoyed because it's like, things are going on again. Like,
yeah, and it's true, and it happens.
And you know what?
There's a word for it. There's like a legitimate word for it.
I remember you and I had that conversation, but like, people just don't care anymore. Like, it's our life. It's been our life for 7 years.
And will
the
continue
seizures,
to be our life.
Yeah, the grand mal seizures, the breathing, the aspirating, the shunt revisions, all that, the hospital stays and everything. Yeah. That's our life. That's just how it is. And, other special needs parents that, kids that are on oxygen and, have the laundry list of medical conditions is just astronomical. And people just don't know how to approach it, accept it, deal with it.
Well, and
unfortunately, we live in a society where people don't want to talk about it.
They know. And they get sick of it. They're like,
You know?
yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
and
She's got problems.
Yeah.
They're like, sorry, I'm not
People
trying.
at work.
I'm not trying
Other
to
family
look
members.
for pity. I'm not trying to manipulate you into any.
I'm just venting.
I'm purely either venting or I'm just having a conversation. And the conversation just happens to be that this is my life. And you know
This is what I'm talking
It
about.
sucks that it makes you uncomfortable, but I have to live it every day.
Yeah. You know, and it was a big thing at work. Like I got on intermittent FMLA and stuff like that. And it just felt like my work. I mean, and I was there for years, over 8 years, before they finally pushed me out. But it seemed like every time Piper had to go to the hospital or something, and I took a day or two, it was like I was penalized for it. Like I know it's like against the law, and they can't do that. But every time I'd go back, like I'd get the cold shoulder. People.
Well, we know that being penalized and being penalized can look different.
Yeah.
Just because legally they can't do anything doesn't mean they can't make you feel uncomfortable. Doesn't mean they can't make you feel like it was a terrible thing. And by the way, he didn't take that much FMLA. All I'm saying.
No.
We
true.
strategically set up our lives in a way that I could be with Piper the majority of the time.
And honestly,
for this reason.
I'm there mostly for support, because honestly, this life is a lot for one person to deal with. And any parent, mom or dad, that is doing this life on their own as a single parent, kudos to you.
Well,
Mad props, mic drop. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, there's two of us, and there's times where I don't know how we do it. Like,
well, I hope that those people also have found
a good support group.
A good support group. Maybe they don't have family, but hopefully they've found online
friends,
people that they can talk
yeah.
to, that they can relate to. I'm, again, 7 years in, and I'm just finding a support group.
Well, it's hard just because CP isn't like a well-known. I mean, cerebral palsy is literally just a word that describes a vastness of problems.
Yeah, it's just brain damage.
That's
There's
all it is.
no
It's brain
real
damage
answer that follows
affects
it.
your body. That affects your body big time. And, you can be asymmetrical. You can be like Piper and be spastic quadriplegic. I mean, there's different kinds, different types.
Yeah, so CP is just...
It's just brain damage that affects...
we can go into when we...
Yeah.
We'll go into
Because
several things multiple times, I'm sure.
Like throughout this process of being transferred from one hospital to another, we were still getting told, brain damage, and being told what, kind of outcome we could look at and stuff. No diagnostic, or no real diagnostic. Why can't I say this?
There was no real diagnosis
There it is.
till after we left the hospital, actually.
No.
So we'll get into that. And well, I guess that's not entirely true. There was some things, but like I said, we'll come around to them. We're being told to wrap it up. It's about time. So, we'll just call it there.
Most people probably don't want to listen to us for this song anyway.
So we're going to call it there. And I will try my hardest to
You got a whole week.
Make a plan.
We got a whole week. Get some papers, get some journals and notebooks and dates and whatever else. All the things.
Try and keep us on task. Yeah.
Oh.
Focus.
Yeah.
That is just not our forte. We're not good at that.
Squirrel.
So anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for listening again.
We love you.
We do. I don't have to know you to love you. I'm just saying, because if you have sat around this long and listened.
And honestly, if anything that we've touched base on you can relate to and has helped you in some way, that's what the podcast is for. It's for us to vent, and if we can help somebody in some way, some form, that's what we want to do.
We're here for that.
We didn't have anything in the midst of the storm except each other, and we managed to weather it. But it would have been nice to have had something,
Yeah.
But we appreciate you. We love you. Take care.
And we will
We'll talk to you
next week.
next week.
Ish, probably.
Ish.
Bye.
Later.
You